As soon as I got home, I announced, Carl and I have broken up. When I saw Mom and Dad still in their formal attire, I slumped onto the couch with a look of sorrow. But both families have already come to an agreement about the engagement, Mom exclaimed. Mom and Dad stared at me in shock. They even dropped the mugs of tea they were holding. That's right. Carl's parents have given us their blessings, but Carl doesn't want to marry me, I replied before closing my eyes, feeling rather dejected. Today, I was supposed to get engaged to Carl Anderson. Many prominent figures from the business industry had been invited to our engagement party. Everyone watched as I stood there like a complete fool, waiting all day for Carl to come. I was subjected to all their comments and ridicule, and Carl didn't even show up. Slamming his hand on the table in fury, Dad declared, tomorrow, I'll head over to see the Andersons and demand an explanation. They've gone too far. Dad wanted to stand up for me, but I replied, forget it. There's no point trying to force Carl to marry me. Can you think of anyone who would be a good match for me in our circle? If you can, introduce them to me. I picked up my phone and started scrolling through my contacts list. You can't be so hasty, Mom said. Perhaps there's some kind of misunderstanding between you two. Let me ask around tomorrow. Mom looked at me with concern. She seemed worried that I would impulsively do something that I would regret. You don't need to, Mom. I'll think of something myself, I replied as my eyes fell on a name. Henry Moran. He was 3 years older than me. Once he reached adulthood, he took over the reins of the Moran family's company and had been in charge ever since. When we were little, he kept teasing me, refusing to stop until I cried. Out of the blue, I recalled that he once said I was too ugly when I cried. No one would want to marry me. I had cried even more pitifully when I heard that, so he hurriedly wiped my tears away and said he would marry me if no one else wanted to. With that memory in mind, I grabbed my car keys and walked toward the door. Iris, where are you going at this hour of the night? Mom asked as she trailed behind me worriedly. So what if Carl doesn't want me? I don't want him, either. Mom, Dad, wait for me. I'll get you a new son-in-law. I waved at Mom to usher her back into the house. After parking the car outside the Moran residence, I took a deep breath to steel myself before heading in. Someone was sitting in the living room. Carl. What are you doing here? Carl demanded as he stood up and eyed me with hostility. He thought I had tailed him to the Moran residence. Relax. I'm not here to see you, I retorted before taking a seat on the other couch to wait for Henry. After getting out of the car, I messaged Henry to inform him that I had come to talk to him about something. Are you doing okay? Carl asked. I know I've hurt you, but I really can't marry you. He sat beside me and reached out to stroke my head the way he used to, but I shot him a look. He knew full well what would have happened to me if he didn't show up today, but he chose to abandon me anyway. Don't touch me. I'm fine. I turned my head away from him before scooting over to the side. If Carl truly felt bad for what he did to me, he should have told me sooner that he wanted to cancel the engagement. He shouldn't have made me the fool by letting me wait the entire day for him. He certainly shouldn't have mocked me and disparaged me in front of others. This proved that my feelings for him throughout the last 2 decades meant nothing to him. Those words that came out of his mouth felt colder than the biting winds of winter. They left me feeling suffocated and gasping for air. Even now, as I stared at the face that once mesmerized me, I felt a ball of anger and frustration welling up inside of me. Eyeing Carl curiously, I asked, why are you here? I gave Angela a ride home. She went up to take something for me, Carl replied. Seeing that I was still talking to him, he patiently tried to placate me, saying, don't be mad. Everything's my fault. When I heard the ease and familiarity in his voice as he mentioned another woman's name, I felt even more hurt. My eyes reddened slightly. I couldn't resist feeling the urge to cry. So, Angela Moran was the reason Carl refused to get engaged to me. Once I have some free time, I'll take you out for some fun. Angela's a great person. She's been to the place I want to take you to, so she can show you around. I'm sure you two will be great friends. Carl didn't notice my reaction. Instead, he chattered happily about the arrangements he wanted to make. My fist clenched as I stared at him. Did he have any idea just how hurt I was? Just then, Henry called out to me, "Come with me." He was standing at the bottom of the stairway. Having seen that Carl and I were sitting side by side, he spoke in a rather stiff tone. I watched as Angela approached Carl and murmured something to him. Immediately, the manner in which Carl carried himself changed entirely. He looked unusually gentle. I sifted through all the memories I had of Carl throughout the last 2 decades or so. He had never smiled at me the way he was smiling at Angela now. Carl and I were childhood friends. We had played with each other since we were children. Being a rather carefree person myself, I often went around climbing trees and scampering outside with Carl. When others bullied me, he would defend me and beat them up to chase them off. When I cried, he would patiently soothe me. Even when we had grown up, Carl never bothered to put on any sort of pretense around me. I thought that meant he treated me like his soulmate, but as it was, he was merely treating me as if I were his pet. When I saw the intimacy he shared with Angela, I finally realized just how worthless my love was to him. I didn't even know when he got so close to Angela, who had only just returned to the country. Well, when it came to love, it didn't matter who came first. It was a matter of the right person at the right time. Henry took me to his study before explaining on behalf of Angela, his niece, "Angela doesn't know about your relationship with Carl." I nodded in response. I knew Angela grew up abroad. Henry only brought her back recently after her parents died in a car accident. Even after returning, she hadn't really mingled with the rest of us in the same social circle. "Why did you come here to see me?" Henry asked with a puzzled look. I glanced at him. Then, as I tried my best to stop my heart from pounding, I said, "I heard that Mr. Moran Sr. has been urging you to get married. How do you feel about marrying me? I'm single, and so are you. We can easily make a good match." Once I finished, I closed my eyes and waited for his decision. When I heard a chuckle ring out beside my ear, I lifted my head and opened my eyes. Henry had walked up to me. "Sure," Henry replied. "I'm a bit busy right now, but once everything is settled, I'll marry you." He gave me a hug before pulling an emerald bracelet out of his desk drawer. "This once belonged to my grandmother. I have one, and Angela was given the other one." After putting the emerald bracelet on me, he escorted me home. When I went back downstairs, Carl had already left the Moran residence. Yet, even when I was lying on my bed that night, I was still a little perplexed. Why had Henry so readily agreed to marry me? When I got out of bed and went downstairs the next morning, I saw Carl sitting in the living room. "Things were a bit hectic yesterday, Iris, so I wanted to have a proper talk with you today," he said. He didn't look too good. With how heavy his dark under-eye circles were, it seemed like he hadn't slept a wink last night. I nodded before taking a seat across from him. Previously, whenever Carl and I were together, I was always the one who had an endless stream of things to say. Whenever he got annoyed, he would use his hand to cover my mouth. My heart would pound whenever my lips made contact with his hand. I would turn bright red and sit beside him in silence. But now, I no longer wanted to revolve my life around him. My love for Carl was over. "I'll give you a sum of money. Consider it a token of my apology. Let's call off the engagement. Even if you refuse, yesterday's situation will just keep happening. Nothing can make me show up to get engaged to you," Carl declared before transferring $1 million to me. He even took my phone out and tapped in the password with great familiarity to confirm that the transaction had been completed. Then, he exhaled deeply before flashing me a relieved smile. "Fine," I said. Carl was just about to continue speaking when his phone started ringing. The ringtone was unique. It was his cover of a love song. He was a great singer. I once wanted to make his cover of this song as my dedicated ringtone on his phone, but he adamantly refused to oblige. Now, when I saw Angela's name flashing on his screen, my heart filled with bitterness that couldn't be put into words. His refusal hadn't been because he didn't want to do it. He simply didn't think I deserved it. Carl took the call and answered in an exceptionally gentle voice. "I accidentally burned myself while I was making breakfast, Carl. Can you take me to the hospital to get it checked?" Angela asked. Her voice was sweet, and she sounded a little teary. "I'll be right there. Wait for me." Don't let your wound come into contact with anything, Carl cried out. He shot up anxiously and ran for the door. Just as he approached the door, he remembered me. We're even now, Iris, he said in an extremely curt tone. Without even waiting for my response, he walked out. It was just as well. It was time for me to give up on him anyway. That night, Henry invited me over to have dinner at the Moran residence. When I arrived, Angela was bustling around the kitchen. You're here, Iris. So, you're the guest Uncle Henry mentioned, huh? Angela said as she shot me a teasing wink. Chuckling, I rolled up my sleeves and lent her a hand in the kitchen. Henry was a germaphobe, so it seemed like Angela was the one in charge of all the house chores. When Carl arrived, he was startled to see me. Acting as if he didn't know me all that well, he greeted me stiffly. Almost as if we had come to a tacit agreement, none of us mentioned the whole affair with the cancelled engagement. Throughout dinner, Carl kept serving Angela. Angie, the doctor said you need to avoid spicy food because of your injury, Carl said before shoving the plate of buffalo wings, the only spicy food on the table, toward me. Our eyes met, and he hesitated briefly. Carl knew I couldn't eat spicy food, but he didn't care. Angela was all he cared about. I was just about to take one of the buffalo wings when Henry stopped me. Hang on. I'll make you a sweet and juicy fruit salad, he said as he swiftly took the plate of buffalo wings away. Still, as I watched Carl and Angela interacting with each other, I felt unusually bitter about it. After dinner, Henry drove me home. Will you marry me? I promise I will always protect you from harm, he asked with such a solemn expression that I felt a bit sheepish. Sure, but let's not do anything grand. I did just get dumped at what was meant to be my engagement party, so I'd rather announce our marriage at a later date, I replied. There was a flicker of aggrievedness in my eyes as I looked up at Henry. Who knew what others would say about me if they heard that I got involved with Henry right after Carl dumped me? All right. I'll do whatever you want, as long as it makes you happy, Henry replied. Thrilled that I had said yes to his proposal, he stroked my head. He didn't seem to care whether others knew about our relationship or not. The next day, Henry and I registered our marriage. We also decided to move my things over to his place. Everything was already prepared. After all, I had initially planned to marry Carl a few months after our engagement, so Mom and Dad had already arranged everything I needed for my wedding and marriage. It was simply a matter of changing the bridegroom. However, I recalled the order for 10,000 baby blue roses that I had placed with the florist before my engagement party. At the time, I wanted to turn my room into a garden-themed one. When I got to the florist, I showed the salesperson my receipt. Mr. Anderson has already collected the flowers you ordered, Miss Gardner, the salesperson informed me with a puzzled expression. What? Carl had retrieved my flowers? Why didn't he give them to me then? Frowning, I questioned the salesperson, didn't I make it clear I was going to pick them up myself? The roses had been flown in from abroad with their roots still intact. That way, they could last up to a month without wilting. I had gone to great lengths to book the order, and it had cost a bomb too. Mr. Anderson said he was collecting it to give his girlfriend a surprise, so we thought it was for you. That's why we packed the flowers up for him even though he didn't have the receipt with him, the salesperson meekly explained. Outraged, I went to Carl's place to look for him, only to find that his master bedroom was filled with my favorite baby blue roses. Angela and I are going to get married. You'll give us your blessings, right, Iris? Carl asked as he eyed me tentatively and handed me a wedding invite. I saw the way he looked at me. It was as if he feared I would ruin his wedding. I, Iris Gardner, am not someone who can't let go. Since I said I don't love you anymore, I meant it. Don't underestimate me. Instead of taking the invite, I slapped Carl before leaving. When I got home, Henry was there waiting for me. Who made my little princess upset? He asked. Nudging him by the waist, I grumbled, Angela is your niece. Why wasn't I told that she's getting married? Henry studied me for a moment before apologizing. Pressing my head against his shoulder, he explained grimly, I told everyone to keep it for you because I was worried you'd be upset that Carl's getting married. So, you don't believe me either when I say I don't love him anymore. I retorted. I pushed him away in anger and looked away. Although Carl had hurt me deeply, my decision to marry Henry hadn't been made out of pure impulse. After giving it a lot of thought, I felt like he was a suitable match for me in every way. Hugging me from behind, Henry murmured into my ear, "I believe you. Don't be mad. We'll attend their wedding ceremony together. It's happening a few days from now." As his breath brushed against me, my body heated up, making my mind go blank. All I could think of was his deep voice. At last, on the day of Carl and Angela's wedding, Henry and I made an appearance as a couple. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw Carl telling his buddies to stand guard at the entrance as though he feared I would do something to mess up his wedding. "Keep an eye on Iris, guys. Don't let her crash the wedding." As soon as Carl finished speaking, Henry and I approached. Eyeing me warily, Carl declared, "Don't even dream of stepping in here, Iris. Don't be so rude. You have to call her Aunt Iris now." Angela chided Carl before greeting me warmly and ushering